Hello, internet friends. Welcome back once again, and thank you all so much for joining me here today. I've got this third episode of The Road to Atlanta. This is probably going to be a very extensive series, considering that it's going to be 2 videos a week for the next 8 months. But what you're seeing here is the second half of the second week of the new training block, and that means reps on squats, because Eric and Hanny love to imagine me crying in a little corner here from the lack of oxygen, and then deadlifts and a whole lot of benching and just general things that I am uncomfortable with. And so that is the kind of the name of the game, as we're going through all these things, stepping outside my comfort zone and trying my best to remain absolutely humble in this pursuit. And that's kind of the topic that I want to kind of sort of a little bit, maybe, I don't know, get into today. I apologize, I'm still a little oxygen deprived from tonight's squat session, and so I may ramble a little bit and have a harder time staying on track. But I do want to give some attention to a lot of the people who competed this last weekend at the Arnold Classic, and some people that I personally feel invested in their success. My boy Bryce Lewis breaking the all-time world record of the 105 class with a 1897 total, with just and he reminded me of something as I've been watching. I watched the entire stream of all this stuff. Dennis Cornelius and Ray Williams and Brett Gibbs and all these people just putting up these phenomenal performances. And I was thinking about Bryce, and I was thinking about the approach, and I was thinking about a lot of things, and the idea of staying humble in your pursuit came back into my mind. And this is something that I always challenge myself to do, and I've had a few people who have mentioned on videos before, "Oh Ben, you seem like a humble guy." That is intentional. That is not an accident. That is not necessarily my nature to be that way. It is a choice, because younger Ben was a much more egotistical young lad, and it's kind of the Dunning-Kruger effect, that the idea of confidence and competence in an area tend to be on opposite ends of the scale. A lot of the time, someone who's not really good at something will imagine themselves much better than they are, and then once you get into a field, you start to realize how little you actually know, and that's just knowledge in general. But the reason I'm thinking about this is the way that Bryce seems to approach a lot of his training, the way that I try to emulate with my pursuits, is to put yourself in this position of humility where there's always more to learn. You don't ever have it completely figured out. There's always something that you can grow from or you can latch onto, and just never let yourself settle. And in my experience, some people might disagree with this, but most of the time the hardest workers are the people who live with the most humility, because the cocky, the arrogant, the egotistical, that can give you some benefit in terms of confidence and self encouragement, and a lack of doubt that might kind of get in the way for some less confident people. But I tend to see people just work harder when you feel like you've got so much further to do. And that was something that I was thinking about with watching all these amazing performances this weekend, and thinking about the journey as it goes, that I have so much further that I feel like I can go. I have so much, and that's not like, oh, I think that my potential's untapped. I just feel like there's more that I could be doing every single time. And if you approach whatever pursuit you have with that mentality of, I feel like I'm working as hard as I can now, but there's always something that I can be better with, that I can improve on, that I can learn from someone else, then you open yourself up to the possibility of actually finding that. Where if you think too highly of yourself, if you pat yourself on the back too much, if you've always got something to say about why your way is the best way always, you run into the problem of you get stuck within that. And something else that happened this weekend, I'm not a big fight fan. I'm kind of a pacifist, and I like to settle things not with fists, but I respect people who are brave enough to go and beat the heck out of each other for entertainment of others. But a lot of hype happened, and then some upsets happened in the UFC fights that happened this weekend, and it just kind of reminded me that if you don't practice humility in your victories, you got to learn how to deal with it real fast when you lose, and that humility is forced upon you. I'd rather it be a choice. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about a lot, and just trying to recenter myself and refocus myself, and avoid the avoid the pull of your ego, and avoid the pull of being overconfident in things, and remembering to remain perpetually a student of whatever it is that you love, and always pursuing that improvement, whatever it is, and opening yourself up to different ideas, letting yourself be wrong, allowing yourself to have some of those moments where you look back and say, you know what, I'm not in a better place right now because I made some less than ideal decisions, and that's okay because I still can move forward from this place. Uh, Work with your head down and just chest up, and just go through life wanting to improve. There's always so much further to go. Even when you're on the top, treat it like you're not, and don't let yourself get too comfortable there, because no one's win streak lasts forever, and you have to eventually put your own value into what you're doing, and it can't always be about winning, because if that's what your self-worth and your self-value is tied to as a person, you will always end up being disappointed. No one wins forever. There's always a retirement. There's always something that happens. It's just we're not here forever, so you can't win forever. So do everything you can to enjoy the pursuit and enjoy what it is that makes you passionate, and never stop learning, never stop growing. Now on to the actual training footage you're seeing. After all that philosophical talk, you're going to see earlier in the session, earlier in the week, I had those 4 sets of 8 at 440. They definitely looked better than they felt. I'm still adjusting to the raised heel Olympic shoe, and I feel like it's going a little bit better, but there's definitely a lot of room to improve there. And then you saw some pull-ups and leg raises. The next day was this deadlift session, and you see I've sped up the rest periods again, and tried to keep it all in one. So this was 7 triples at 560 pounds. This weight still is relatively 560 or 570? Yeah, 560 this week. 570 is 8 triples for 8 triples, yeah, next week. So I was trying my best to try and keep these, focusing on one of my weaknesses, which is my work capacity and my conditioning. And you see right there, I'm getting a little bit tired. I was trying to keep these on the minute because the weight is light enough that I should be able to hold myself accountable with this, because my deadlift is pretty efficient. But you're going to see right here, my glutes actually were tightening up, so I had to take a little bit longer break on that. And this is just one of those things where it was a personal challenge, targeting a weakness. I don't think that this is something that I would encourage people to do for normal training. This isn't, the point of this was not to make a workout video and try to impress people, oh, look what I can do. It was to challenge myself in a different way, and to pick something that's specifically a weakness, which for me is getting overly long rest periods, and kind of try and improve my conditioning on this lift that I feel confident in my ability to stay safe even when I'm fatigued and even when I'm moving through. So I left the clock up there for my own reference, and if you guys want to see, because I did speed up the time in between to try and keep it there. I actually think I rushed the first few rest period sets, and that's why the cumulative glute pump kind of caught up to me. But this last set, I think, was improved over that second to last set. So ultimately, there's still room to improve there. Some positioning things. I think next week I'll try and give myself maybe 2 minutes of rest in between, but I'm still really staying on top of just not letting myself get overly comfortable into a lull there, and not challenging myself just because the weights are light initially in this training block. I have no doubt that they're going to get heavier as we go, and the idea is to get me used to handling these higher volumes. 8 triples is no joke, especially when you consider that over the course of this next 8 months we have a lot of room to put weight on the bar. So the focus really needs to be on improving those positions and making myself more efficient, and getting stronger. but I need a base of work capacity and some general conditioning to be able to continue to do that and not have my sessions take 5 or 6 hours, which I'd be willing to do. This is kind of my job, so I guess it's hard to compare to what a lot of people do for a living. I can treat myself a little bit differently because this is what I can spend my days doing, and for that I am very fortunate, and I'm very, I feel blessed and lucky to be able to do this. But I don't want to tell people that that all the ideas and all the things that we're attempting with my training are something that everybody should do. You should definitely aim for what is sustainable and consistent with your own life setup. If you work, 60 hours a week, training 5 days a week for a few hours is not necessarily the optimal plan for you, because you have to make it actually fit into your life. So this is what's going on with mine. This is the last day. I just filmed the bench pressing, still working on some different technical things, a couple of setup changes that I'm doing that, again, I'm going to make a video eventually where I talk about some of the changes I made to my bench, but it's definitely feeling a little bit better after some of these changes. Basically setting up a little further, sliding a little less when I get into position, locking my lower body in, and I'm starting to inch the grip out about a half finger width every week. So eventually I'll go from my ring fingers being on the rings to hopefully my index fingers being on the rings. A couple of quick updates. I know this is a long video. Thank you guys so much for sticking with it. The training guided programming that I'm doing with Garrett Blevins and Brandon Campbell, please check the description to learn more about that if you're interested. That's starting on March 21st, and we're all really excited. It's going to be an awesome experience, and I will be definitely involved in the coaching process throughout that, and probably making some videos with Garrett. My acapella group's album 2020 is the group, and our album cover art is releasing digitally tomorrow, I believe, and we are going to have some hard copies that we are selling on our tour starting down in San Francisco on the 20th or 21st of March. So a lot happening at the end of this month. I'm really excited. I just want to encourage all of you to check the description for information on that stuff if you're interested in it, and if you're not, then go ahead and have a great time with the rest of your day anyway, and don't worry about that. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Thank you for sticking through this long video and listening to me talk about things. I appreciate you all very much, and I will talk to you very soon. Have a great night. Bye.